This is the Ford Maverick and it's brand new for the 2022 model year. Now, a few things that are special about the one in behind me. It's got the 4K tow package, Lariat trim level, it's got the 17-inch all-terrain tires, it's got the optional sunroof, and a number of other things. Steve here, Cars with Steve, and before we get started, I want to give Yorkdale Ford a huge shout out for giving me access to this truck to shoot the video for you today. Check down in the description below for their contact details. Now, this is going to be an in-depth look. You're going to learn everything you need to know about the brand new Maverick. We're going to be going over trim level choices, engine options, first, second row spacing, bed sizing, and everything in between. I am going to be hiding a gift card code somewhere in this video, so if you're the first one to find it and claim it, it's yours. But let's dive into it. Let's have a little bit of fun and see what's going on with the brand new Maverick. Let's start off taking a peek at available color choices for the 2022 Maverick. Going to be hopping online to do that. So looking at the Ford.ca website versus the .com, they do have the exact same paint choices that are available. It's just that they are organized slightly different, whether you're in Canada or the US, but as you see there, the color choices are literally the exact same. So starting off, we've got our Shadow Black versus Velocity Blue, really makes it pop. We've got the iconic Silver, Carbonized Gray, Cactus Gray, Oxford White, as well as Area 51. So slew of different colors that are available there, and as you can see on the US side, exact same color choices, exact same color names. So whether you're in Canada or the US, this is going to apply to you. But taking a look, so that's the XL base. When we get into the XLT, whether we're in Canada or the US, we do have the same base colors that are available in the XL, but we've got a few extra colors that are available now. So we've got Alto Blue, Hot Pepper Red, as well as Cyber Orange. And these three color choices are all paid options, whether you're in Canada or the US. And it looks like they're all metallic paints as well. The Alto Blue, I really like the look of that one. It's just that deep blue compared to something like the Velocity Blue. Like, I have always been a fan of that kind of deeper blue. I've actually got a buddy who just got rid of his EcoBoost Mustang that has the Velocity Blue. Nick, I'm giving you a shout out, man. But Alto Blue, I've always been a big fan of myself. So you've got three extra choices that are available in the XLT trim level. When we get into the Lariat, whether we're in Canada or the US, exact same paint choices that are available as the XLT with the exception of one. And as you can see there, that's the same in Canada and the US, and that is going to be this Rapid Red, so a tri-coat metallic paint. When you get that red, you have to add a few packages on. So as you can see there, we need to add on the Lariat Luxury package, the First Edition package, as well as the Co-Pilot 360 package. But when we look at the Canadian website and we go to add that on as well, so that Rapid Red paint, we've got the option now of only adding in the Lariat Luxury package and the First Edition package. But here's the kicker. In Canada, to get the Lariat Luxury package, you also have to add in the Ford Co-Pilot 360 package. So even though on the Canada website it doesn't show the Co-Pilot 360, when we go to add this Rapid Red paint, we're going to just kind of zoom down a little bit, and as you can see there, Co-Pilot 360 was automatically added, so it was included inside of that package. Because if we look at any of the other colors, like Cyber Orange, drop back down, Co-Pilot 360 is now an added option, as is the Lariat Luxury package. So if you're a fan of that Rapid Red, that deeper red, you will have to go for a few extra packages, and whether or not you decide to go for that one is going to be up to you, but let's hop back outside and take a look at some exterior styling. Now, the first thing I noticed about this truck in comparison to something like the Ranger is the size difference. This truck is lower and it's not as long either. So if you're looking for something a little bit more nimble, a little bit smaller, the Maverick might be for you. Now, that does beg the question, who is the vehicle made for? I'm sitting here at Yorkdale Ford in Toronto, and I think that is the prime target for this truck. Now, the reason why is because it's small, it's nimble, but it does also give us a bed in the back. So if we're occasionally going on camping trips and things like that, we need more space than what we'd find in a traditional SUV. This would be a nice option. But looking, we do have some nice moldings along the side there. We've got a little cutout right along the top here as well. Aerodynamics, maybe, but a few other things as basic styling to point out. We do have our Lariat badge along the side, and that's gonna be the same for the driver and the passenger side of the vehicle. As we move down, we do have a little black painted molding along the bottom there. Now, obviously, this is a black exterior truck, so we do have black on black look there with the exception of these wheels. Now, if you're going for a true black on black look, you could technically get these things hydro dipped if you wanted to go for that look instead. But the wheels themselves, we do actually have two available choices, depending on which trim level you're in. You're either 17 or 18 inch. But that's the interesting part, because this is the Lariat, which means technically the default tire is an 18-inch. So it's an 18-inch wheel, 18-inch rubber. But you do have the option from the factory of upgrading to these 17-inch all-terrain tires instead. So do you go for the all-terrains or do you leave it at the standard tire? It's going to depend on what you're doing with it. So if you're going to be taking this thing off-road, the all-terrains are a good choice. But if you're not going to, if it's going to be more of just a day-to-day driver and then just occasionally taking it camping, whatever the case may be, I'd actually recommend against the all-terrains just to cut down on road noise. But looking at the actual drivetrain for the vehicle, it's available either front wheel or all-wheel drive. And that's going to depend on a few things. So in Canada, we're front wheel drive in the 2.5 liter hybrid. And then when we come to the 2 liter turbo, strictly available as the all-wheel drive option. Down in the States, you guys have the option for either the 2.5 hybrid or the 2 liter turbo. If you want the Lariat front wheel drive with the 2 liter turbo, you have the option of getting that down in the States. Canada, we unfortunately don't have that luxury. All right, now as we move to the front end of the truck, so we do have our LED headlamps. I do love the styling there. We've got nice silver highlights built into that headlamp there. And then we've got a beautiful aluminum bar right along the side as well with our Ford logo. Now, we do also have a few things inside of this truck. So we do have our active grille shutters, which we can kind of make out just as we look inside of the grille. We do have our black grille that does contrast nicely with the moldings in the front and then wrapped around the side of the vehicle as well. And that is it. Like, it is interesting kind of the overall styling of the front end of the vehicle. We do have a few cutouts along the bottom there. And again, for those active grills, off along the side, we don't have the option for fog lamps in this vehicle whatsoever. So it doesn't matter if you're in the XL base or a fully loaded Lariat, you won't have that as an option at all. Now, getting underneath the hood of the Maverick's pretty straightforward. We've got a little latch on the inside. We're just gonna double pull in order to unlock. But taking a peek, no hydraulics here, so it's a manual process in order to make sure this is locked up into place. And underneath the hood, a few things to point out right from the get-go. No engine cover here whatsoever, no heat shield along the top either. But this is very reminiscent of the Ford Escape, and the reason why is because they're built on similar platforms, and this is the same 2 liter turbocharged engine. Now, we do have the option for the 2.5 liter hybrid as well, and that's going to be standard inside of the XL trim level, XLT, the Lariat, etc. We do have that standard, and we will have the 2 liter turbocharged engine optional instead. But power-wise, inside of the 2.5 hybrid, that's going to be able to push out 191 horsepower and 155 pound-feet of torque, and that's going to be the combined ratings. In comparison, this 2 liter turbocharged engine is going to be able to push out 250 horsepower and 277 pound-feet of torque. So way more power in comparison. If you're the type of person you prefer that power, definitely go for the 2 liter. If you're the type of person where you prefer maybe better fuel economy, the 2.5 hybrid is definitely where you're going to want to be. But we do have fairly easy access to a few things, so we can easily top up some fluids. We've got easy access if we want to change our oil, and easy access to the battery. Now, just the way that Ford has this set up, we have a ton of space underneath the hood and lots of working area too, which is a good thing. Because if you're the type of person where you want to change lights and things like that yourself, you've got easy access to the headlamps there, so you can easily do it if you wanted to. All right, taking a peek at the key fob for the vehicle. So, depending on which trim level of the vehicle you're in, you might get a fob like this. You might just have a key instead. So, this is the Lariat, which is why we do have this key fob here. But as you can see along the front of the fob, we've got our unlock and our lock button, as well as our horn or a panic alarm button. Now, we will have the option for remote start available from the factory, or we can do something aftermarket instead if we wanted to. But one of the great things about the Maverick is that we do have the flexibility of being able to use our cell phone, so we can use the Ford Pass app to remote start directly through our phones if we wanted to. Now, taking a peek along the back of the vehicle. So, a lot of things to point out here. First and foremost, we do have our Ford logo along the back with our backup camera just hidden right underneath the logo there. We've got the beautiful Maverick badge there as well, and because this is the all-wheel drive version of the vehicle, we've got the all-wheel drive logo along the side. Now, a few things that aren't going to come standard in the Maverick or available whatsoever. We don't have the option for the reverse sensing system whatsoever. Now, we do have a few different options for the actual trailer hitch itself. We could get the 4K tow package, which this one has, which means that we can tow up to 4,000 pounds. Now, at a minimum, we're going to have at least a 4-pin wiring harness there as well. When you get into that 4K tow package, we will have the 7-pin along the other side. Now, getting into the bed of the Maverick is also pretty straightforward. So we do have a lockable bed, and we do have a few options for covers. So let's actually open up the bed first and foremost. Getting inside here. So This one is the tri-fold hardtop tonneau cover. We've got the option for the tri-fold hardtop, we've got soft top. You can go with no tonneau cover as well. And you do have some options. You could get it directly from the factory. You can get an option instead where you do it aftermarket. So you do have some flexibility as to which way you go. With the tri-fold hardtop though, it is pretty straightforward in order to open this thing up. So we do have an emergency release lever there. We're just gonna pull that down, fold. Next part, same idea. We're gonna grab, we're gonna pull, fold, lastly, grab, pull, and we're gonna fold. And that's the actual tonneau cover up and open. Now, one of the nice things about the Maverick is that we've got these handy little pulls on the inside here as well. So we can literally take these, we've got a little slider along the top there, and we can lift this thing up in order to be able to put the rubber stopper there. Now there is one on the driver and the passenger side, and that's literally so that we can drive with this thing up into place. So we would literally just unscrew, drop down, screw it back in, and then literally this thing will be locked into place there. So we would have the flexibility to be able to drive with this bed fully open if we had the tonneau cover. But the actual box dimensions for the truck are going to be showing up. Now we do only have one box size available for the Maverick, and that's the 4.5 foot box that we're looking at here. We do have a slew of different features and options and things like that that are available, but a few things that are notable. Now this is the Lariat version of the vehicle, which means that we've got some storage along the side. So we've got a few kind of little storage areas, which I'll show you in just a second, but we have a few tie downs along the front here. And then Ford introduced something that they're calling flex bed, which gives us the flexibility to literally throw 2x4s and things like that into certain parts of the truck in order to be able to customize the bed the way that we'd like it to. So that's one of the interesting things about this truck, is because Ford's made it so that it's a little bit more budget friendly, but they've taken out a few of the things that we'd find inside of the F-150 and the Ranger, etc. Now, a few things to note, we do have a few other tie downs here. So we've got 4 more along the side, and so we've got the 2 along the back there as well. Now inside of the Lariat luxury package, we would have LED box lighting in here as well. So we would just have a switch for it in the back here. And then we do have a few different options for the actual wiring kits and things like that, aftermarket accessories, etc. So it's literally sky's the limit. Whatever you think you could do with this truck in the bed, you pretty much could. Looking at aftermarket accessories, if you want to get handy and create and build something yourself, you've got that flexibility. So we do have a few different box dimensions that are coming up. So we've got a few different dimensions between the wheel wells and things like that. So we do actually have quite a little bit of space back here, which is definitely a nice thing. Now looking at the bed itself, this one is completely unfinished, but we would have the option of a few things directly from the factory. So you could do a spray-in bed liner from the factory if you wanted to. You could do a spray-in or a drop-in aftermarket. Now the factory liner is a little bit cheaper. If you were to look at an aftermarket solution, something like Line-X, one of the interesting parts about that Line-X system specifically, it's about twice as thick as the factory liner and also has a lifetime warranty. So which way you go is going to be dependent on you, but a few things to point out in the back here. So we do have our few wiring provisions, so we can literally just pop this little cover off here, and you can see it's literally just the wired part, so we could literally create whatever we want to in the back here. And we do have a little cover. So we've got one on the driver passenger side, and that's going to be standard when we don't get the luxury package of the Lariat. So when we get that Lux package, we will lose one of these, specifically on that driver's side. But a few other things to point out here, we do have some bottle cap openers along both sides of the tailgate itself, which is kind of nice. Filling up fuel inside of the Maverick is also straightforward. It's just along our driver's side door. When you get into the 2-liter turbocharged engine, it's going to be a non-lockable cover. When you get into the 2.5 hybrid, just to do with the pressurization, it's going to be a locked cap there instead. A capless system, just insert your fuel hose, fill up, and you're good to go. And minimum manufacturer's recommendation for both the 2-liter turbo and the 2.5 liter is just your regular 87 gas, so 87 fuel. All right, now, second row spacing inside the Maverick. This thing is actually fairly spacious, and that's one of the great things is, I mean, technically built off of the same platform as the Escape, the Bronco Sport, etc. So sizing-wise, definitely reminds me of that. But a few things to point out. I've got the driver's seat set up for somebody 6 feet tall. I'm 6 feet tall, and I've still got a nice amount of knee space, good amount of foot space, and up overhead, it's kind of nice. I've got about almost 3.5 inches of head space there, which is definitely a good thing. Now, a few things. This one does have the option for a sunroof. So sunroof is optional there, but it is a nice sliding roof, which is great, and it's not a panoramic roof. So it's like a smaller roof, what we'd find inside of the Bronco Sport. So it is still available there as an option. But if we look at second row features and what's available there, we do have some pockets in the back of the driver passenger seat available in some trims, and it's the same thing with these cup holders in the back here as well. So it's not going to be standard, available optionally. But we're in the Lariat and it's the base Lariat, so it's there. Just behind the armrest, we do have 2 available power points. So we've got our USB as well as our USB-C, as well as a 400-watt inverter in the back here as well. Outside of that, not a lot of other stuff technology-wise. We do have a little handle on the top with a small hook. One thing that is unique is actually what's going on with the handle. So we do have a little functional handle along the side here. Honestly, the first time I saw it, I wasn't in love with it, but the more and more I see it, the nicer and nicer it becomes. So it is available there, standard across the entire vehicle lineup, but it is kind of neat. Like, it's something different. We've got our handle and our lock right along the very top here, but it is interesting what Ford's decided to do with the design of this thing. Because we've got our nice handle along the side, we've got a bottle storage and quite a bit of storage space along the side here as well, which is always a nice thing. Now, another thing to point out, we do have the option for a power sliding rear window. So this one obviously does have that window as an option there, available in some trims. The base Lariat will have that power sliding window there standard. Well, a few other things to point out. This whole bench can actually move up, which is kind of a neat thing. So I'm gonna hop up and show you a few different things that can be done with the bench seat one way or the other. All right, now, a few other things about this second row is what can be done with the seat itself, because we can literally, there's a latch along the side here, we can pull that up in order to reveal a boatload of storage under here. So yeah, we do have the bed itself, but if we need to store even more, we can easily do that underneath the seat. And one of the cool things is that once it's up, it's literally locked into place. So if you have some fragile things here, you don't have to worry about the seat kind of crashing down and ruining the party. And then we can literally, so there's one in the front, one in the back, we can just grab in order to be able to drop this thing down as well. Now, a few other things. I'd mentioned we do have cup holders there that are going to be available in some trim levels of the vehicle. We do also have our latch and anchor system there, so we do have the latches just on the bottom of the seats there, and then we do have another pulley right along the very top there, where you crank this, and down goes the backrest. So one of the great things is that it's down now. It's not a flat fold, as you can see there. It's got a little bit of bounce to it, but we do have our jack along the side there, white spigot if we need to use a jerry can, and then we've got 3 individual tethers there. So we've got front, rear-facing child seats, whatever the case may be. You'll probably be able to comfortably get them inside of this thing. All right, taking a peek along our driver's side doors, as you can see there, we do have our keyless entry, so we would just enter in a 5-digit number to get inside, 5-digit factory one, and we also can set up our own unique ones if we want to. We can push the bottom 2 numbers here in order to be able to lock the door, and then just along the side, so we might have intelligent access if we're in the higher trim levels of the vehicle. So we can push on the outside there to lock, slide our hands in to be able to unlock the door, but then hopping inside. So this is kind of neat. Like, we start off along the side of the door there, and as you can see, we've got our unlock and our lock buttons. We've got our handle there, but this is unique. What's going on with this actual handle there instead? So it is kind of nice that we've got this. Like, I wasn't in love with it at first, but the more and more I see it, nicer and nicer it looks. We've got our basic for our side view mirror control, window up and down, and then we've got a ton of storage along the door here. So we can literally fit larger water bottles along the side, which I think is a great touch. Now, as we start to move on the inside here, so a series of different buttons along the left-hand side of the steering wheel. So as you can see there, we can turn our bed lighting on. We can adjust what's going on with our running lamps, increase or decrease the brightness of the cluster screen. Moving down, we do have our integrated brake controller, and that's going to be standard as part of the 4K tow package there. On the inside here, we can also double pull in order to be able to get underneath the hood of the vehicle. Now, we do also have our manual adjust for our steering wheel there. So as you can see, and it is a telescopic wheel, so we can move it in and out, up and down, etc. And then looking at the actual driver's seat itself, so we are going to be a power adjust in some versions of the vehicle. Might be a manual. If you're a manual, you will have a little bar just in between your legs there in order to be able to move the seat forwards and backwards. Next up, let's take a peek at the steering wheel of the vehicle. So first and foremost, if you ever get a warning message on the screen, you just press the OK button in the middle there in order to get rid of any messages that might be there. So starting off with the pad on the left-hand side, and this is going to be for our base cruise control. So we can turn the cruise control on easily. We can set it as necessary. Now, one thing to note, we do have the option for the adaptive cruise control when we get into the Lariat Luxury package. So it's not going to be standard inside of the regular Lariat. We have to go for the Lux package in order to get that feature. We can easily adjust our volume. We can mute it from there as well if we wanted to. Off to the right-hand side, we can change between songs or radio stations. One of the great things is that we can actually push and hold there as well if we wanted to seek between different stations that way. So you at least have a few different ways that we can kind of seek between different stations and things like that, switch between active presets, etc. So a lot of flexibility there. This button is also going to be the one where we can either answer or hang up at a phone call. We do have our voice command prompt.
Assistant requires a connected phone.
All right, so as of right now, because we are in the base version of the Lariat as well, we don't have the Sync 3 system with the added enhanced voice support, which would give us the option of doing things like changing radio stations, making phone calls, and things like that using our voice. So when we're in the base versions of the vehicle, this command prompt is actually going to give us the flexibility to use Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, specifically our assistants. So if we were hooked up through Android Auto or Apple CarPlay, we could use this as our Apple CarPlay, so our Apple Assistant, so Siri, or we could use it as our Google Assistant button there instead. These buttons are going to let us figure out what's going on with that cluster screen. And then we do have a few different options for the screen itself. The screen size is going to depend on which trim level of the vehicle you're looking at. Because we're in the Lariat, we do have a 6.5-inch screen. When we're in the XL, XLT, etc., it's going to be a 4.2-inch cluster screen standard instead. But looking at some of the basics, this is going to be our basic back button. This is going to let us go up and down between different screens, and then this is our generic menu button. This, the one that lets us go between different screens, if we press the OK button, that's literally going to let us reset any settings and jump into little other menus and things like that. So starting off, we are on our fuel economy, so we press and hold OK in order to be able to reset our economy. Boom, reset. Dropping down, we've got our trip counter, tire pressure, we've got our AM, FM, so whatever station's currently playing, and then pressing the menu button there is going to bring us into the sub-screen menu, where we can select different screens, so we can have a calming screen show up where there just wouldn't be anything on the screen instead. We've got our intelligent all-wheel drive, trailer light check, seat belts, auto start stop, and a few other things. So if we add in a few, I think we can maybe add in one or two more. Let's go seat belts. Okay, there we go. And then we jump back again, and then as you can see, we've got our seat belts there. We've got our FM, we've got the calming screen. So it gives us our digital speed along the bottom right-hand side, and then we don't have much of the same distractions that we'd see in some of the other options there. So we look, so if you're just not a fan of having as many distractions, we can easily go into the calming screen there instead if we wanted to. We do have our audio buttons there as well, so we can jump between AM, FM. If our phone was connected, that would show up as an available source. If we had a USB stick with MP3s, that would show up as an available source there as well. Dropping down, we've got our phone, so as of right now, no phone connected, but if it was connected, we could make phone calls and things like that as well by simply selecting that option. Moving into settings, we've got a few different options that are available there as well. So we've got our trailer sway control, which is great because if the vehicle senses that there's sway going on in the trailer, it's automatically going to apply engine braking in order to get that sway under control. We've got some driver assistance settings, so quite a few of them. We've got our blind spot system, so that lets us know if anybody's under the blind spot on either side of the vehicle. Cross traffic alert, so if the vehicle senses something's coming perpendicular, it's going, as we go to reverse, so somebody's coming off from our left or right side, it's going to warn us and let us know of a potential collision. We've got our driver alert setting, and that's the one where if it's actually tied into the lane keeping, but if we get too many notifications because we're veering over too many times without signaling, we're going to get a message letting us know we should probably take a break. Now on the lane keeping system, so we do have a button just on the very tip of that left turn stick there. You can just make it out. But that's the one that's actually going to turn that lane keeping system on or off. So we can see it's on whenever we have those lanes showing up there. Now the system might be on, but it doesn't actually activate until we hit about 60 kilometers an hour. So these lanes are going to go green when it recognizes the markings, and then it's literally going to keep us bouncing our lane. So it's not a full lane centering with this base system, but it's at least a base lane keeping system. So 3 different ways. We've got our alert, which is going to give us a little bit of a steering wheel shake, our aid, which is going to nudge us back into our lane, and our alert and our aid, which will do both. Moving back, it's the intensity of that steering wheel shake. Then we've got our pre-collision assist system with active braking. So if the vehicle senses a potential collision, it can actively brake for us as well. And that's going to be the basics of driver assistance. We've got some vehicle settings so we can lock it out for a 30-minute max idle. We've got some other lighting options, so our auto lamp delay, high beams, etc. The auto high beam is an interesting one because with our beams on, if the vehicle recognizes that there's an oncoming vehicle, it's going to dim them, turn them off, and bring them right back to life again for us. And then the auto lamp delay, when we go to lock the vehicle, how long do the lamps stay on for? We've got a few different options for our locks. The big one here is going to be our remote unlock. So when we go to remote unlock, do all doors become unlocked or just the driver's door? We've got our switch inhibitor as well as our intelligent access, which if on the outside of the truck we slide our hand in behind the door handle, it's actually going to unlock the doors. It's not available in every trim level, but is available in the Lariat, as an option. We've got our oil life reset, remote start. So the key fob itself doesn't have remote start built in, but we do have the flexibility of still remote starting using our phone if we wanted to. So we'd be able to use the Ford Pass app on our phone, whether that's an Android or an iPhone, in order to remote start that way. We've got the duration of we've got the climate there. I should actually start off there. So is that going to let the vehicle determine what the cabin temperature should be, or is it going to be based off of our last setting? The duration of the start is at 5, 10, or 15 minutes, and then we can turn the whole system off if we wanted to. Wipers, we've got our courtesy wipe, which if we've got our windshield wipers if we've got our windshield wipers going, and then we have the courtesy wipe on, what'll happen is at the end of our wipe cycle, it'll wait a second, and then it'll go one more time to get rid of any sort of excess liquid that might be on the windshield. And moving back, that's going to be the basics for our vehicle. My key, similar to a lot of other Ford vehicles, we can easily set up a key with certain limitations. So if you wanted to have it where you couldn't speed excessively, you could literally have it set a specific key fob, can only go maybe up to 100 kilometers an hour. So you do have the flexibility of easily setting up your My Key if you wanted to. And that's going to be the basics of our settings there. Moving back, we have our display set up, so we can show miles or kilometers per hour on the bottom right-hand side there. We can switch between a few measurement units, so if you prefer miles per gallon, Celsius, Fahrenheit, we've got a few different options for how we're going to have our tire pressure displayed. And then we've got our language where we can switch between either English, Spanish, or French. And that's going to be the basics of the actual screen itself. Hopping back out, we're back into our main pages there. So as I mentioned, this is going to be the button that's going to let us go between individual screens, and then we can just press and hold the OK button in the middle there in order to go between different options as well. Now, stick on the left-hand side, I had mentioned it earlier, there's a button on the very tip of the stick. That's going to turn the lane keeping system on or off. We can easily flash our high beams, whereas the stick on the right-hand side is going to give us the flexibility to adjust our wiper speed as well, and then we can pull in towards us to get that front wiper fluid going if we wanted to. All right, next up, taking a peek at the media screen for the vehicle. So we actually do have two screen choices that are available. It's either just going to be this base screen, or we've got the option for Sync 3 with the enhanced voice recognition. It's available in some of the packages, but this is just going to be for the base screen by itself. So we've got our station that's currently playing, we can pair a device, and then we've got some other basics along the top. This is going to be our home button. We've got our time that's currently going, current temperature, whether or not we're connected through data, etc. And then whether or not we've got our 911 assist set up, which as of right now, we don't. So we're going to go through each option here, starting off with our audio tab along the very bottom. First off would be our sources. So we've got our AM, FM, or Bluetooth. So if we were hooked up using our cell phone, we would have Bluetooth audio as one of the available options. If we had a USB stick with MP3s, that would also show up as an option there as well. Moving back, we can tune a few different ways. So we've got a tuning rocker there. We can also direct tune this way as well. So we can just type in a station if we wanted to. We just hit enter and we're turned on. So let's actually do a quick audio test here. Okay, so that's the base speaker system inside of the vehicle. We do have the option for an upgraded Bang & Olufsen sound system, which definitely sounds much cleaner. But looking along the very bottom, we've got a series of different presets. We can literally just press and hold any of the available spots in order to save that preset in. So preset is now saved, and it really is that simple. Next up, looking at our phone. So we've got a few different ways we can add in a phone. We can do it just on that screen. If we were on this screen, we could just pair device, or on the main screen. So we've got our settings there, and we can jump into our phone or Bluetooth there as well to add in a different device. So setting the device up is actually super simple. So first step, what we're going to do is literally just hit add phone.
Search for Ford Maverick on your device and select Ford Maverick once it is found.
Okay, and we're waiting for Maverick, and we're just going to press that.
Confirm that the pin displayed on Ford audio matches the pin displayed on your device.
Okay, so we want to make sure these add up, and they do, so pair and yes.
For your safety, please stay alert to changing road conditions while your vehicle is in motion.
Okay, so what we want to do is make sure that we allow contacts, and we want to turn on 911 assist as well. The big reason why is because if the vehicle senses a collision and you're hooked up over Bluetooth, it's automatically going to dial 911 for you. But as you can see, we've got, so contacts are now downloaded, but we've got my phone, we've got Siri, do not disturb mode, we've got my keypad, and a number of other things. So phone is now connected, and it literally is that simple. If we go into settings here, we jump into phone. We've got some more advanced ones, so we can look at Bluetooth devices, we can manage my contacts, look at text messaging, we've got our roaming warnings, and a number of other things. Now, one nice thing is that this vehicle also does have Android Auto and Apple CarPlay support, so we don't have factory navigation inside of this thing, but we can take our USB cable, put it into the available USB port in front of us there. Opposite end, we're just going to plug ourselves in, and Apple CarPlay. So we just want to hit continue there. We have to agree. Do we want to allow CarPlay while the phone itself is locked? Yes, so we want to allow. And as you can see there, fully connected, and it literally is that simple. We at least have some map support there. So we've got our Apple Maps, we've got Google Maps, we've got Waze. We can use them all through this middle screen. Now the screen itself is fairly responsive, so we can easily move out as necessary there. Moving back, as I mentioned, we do have a few other map applications that we can jump through. Now, when we're hooked up through CarPlay, we can press the voice command prompt on the steering wheel, and that's going to launch our Siri Assistant there as well. So we can have that launched if we want to. Jumping back, this brings us back to the main screen here. Now, we do have the flexibility to be able to customize the screen layout as well if we wanted to. So on our phone, if we jump into, so we're going to start off with CarPlay, look at Ford Maverick, and then we can customize it. And we can literally just do a drag and drop. So if you have some things that you wanted to listen to instead, you can easily set that up if you wanted to. We can easily delete some things. It'll store it at the very bottom if we wanted to do that. But if we've kind of played around with too much and we don't like the way it looks, we can just do a reset in order to bring it back to our factory default screen there instead. Moving back, as you can see, we're now fully connected again. So we do have the flexibility of just jumping back here, pressing Ford Audio, and that's going to jump us back into this main screen. But all of a sudden, we've got maps because we're connected through CarPlay now. So we've got a number of options, and one of the cool things is that we can still use the radio here. Well, I don't actually have a station on. There we go. So let's go AM, FM, etc. Actually, let's go this station. So we could technically run through our audio if we wanted to while we're still connected through Apple CarPlay. So you don't have to worry about strictly using your phone's audio if you didn't want to. And then jumping back to the main screen here, we can press Ford Audio to jump us back to this main screen. We can jump back into CarPlay. We can go to settings here, jump across, and we've got Apple CarPlay preferences. So we can turn CarPlay off. We can remove my phone as well if we wanted to. So if we remove, and as you can see there along the bottom, it's now completely disconnected, but I'm still charging up there as well, which is nice. All right, now, setting up an Android device is literally the exact same process. So as you can see there, we are still connected to the Apple device, so we can reconnect through Bluetooth if we wanted to, or we can simply add a phone.
Ford Maverick on your device and select Ford Maverick once it is found.
I love that. Maverick. So good, so good. All right, and then what we're doing is we're just going to wait until, there we go, Ford Maverick shows up, and we're just going to hit Ford Maverick there.
Confirm that the pin displayed on Ford Audio matches the pin displayed. For your safety, please stay alert to changing road conditions while your vehicle is in motion.
Okay, so we are now fully connected there. So as you can see, we've got a few other options. We've got our phone assistant. We've got our keypad there as well. So very similar to what we saw on the iPhone side of things. Now, one other thing is different. We've got our change device here now because we've got multiple devices connected. So we can easily press that in order to be able to select which phone we want to connect to. We can jump in, we can disconnect, we can make it our favorite, or we can completely remove any of these phones if we wanted to. So I'm connected to the Galaxy, so let's hop into the iPhone for a second. So we can connect the phone, media, make it a favorite, or we can remove it if we wanted to. And 3, 2, 1, it is that simple in order to be able to set a phone up and delete it from the vehicle. But very similar to the iPhone side of things, we do also have Android Auto support. So we're going to take our USB cable, we're just going to plug it in, and opposite end of the cable, and we're just going to plug ourselves in there as well. And Android Auto, so quick. Just hit continue there. We have to agree. And Android, I would like to turn on Bluetooth to sync, so we're going to hit next. And a few seconds here. Launching in 3, 2, 1, and we are fully connected. So as you can see there, fully connected here. We've got our map preferences along the bottom there. We've got our Google About. We can go between different traffic sources, guidance options, and things like that. And then very similar to what we saw on the iPhone side, if we press and hold OK in the middle there, so you can see we've got our Google Assistant showing up as well. Notification Center, get back into our Google Assistant, hop inside of the main Android Auto menu. So very similar, as you can see there, we do have some flexibility. We've got our Google Maps, we can customize things as well. Now we do have the flexibility of being able to customize on the Android Auto side of things. We're just going to search for Android Auto, and when we do, we've got our settings menu there, and we're just going to look at our customizable launcher, and we can customize. So we can do a drag and drop. Any changes that we make here, we do actually have to relaunch Android Auto for them to take into effect. So it's not the same as Apple where it's dynamically going to update. We do have to manually go in order to make those changes. But we still do have the option of customizing the launcher if we want to. We've got our Google Voice detection, which is great. So we can say, hey Google, and it launches into our Google Assistant there as well. We've got a few other things, so our Google Assistant there, we can disable weather if we wanted to, and we've got a few other options. Now, one thing to note, we are wired Android Auto and Apple CarPlay inside of this vehicle. We don't have the option for a wireless connection at all, unfortunately. And we jump back, we hit exit there in order to jump back out to this main sync screen. We can jump directly into the maps because we're connected through Android Auto. We can hop back into Android Auto, look at our base preferences there where we can remove the phone if we wanted to. So we are charging this phone while we're connected there as well. So device not responding, which makes sense because I disabled Android Auto on this thing, so totally makes sense there. But as you can see, we are still connected to the Galaxy. And then like what we saw on the iPhone side, if we jump into our settings, into phone, we can manage devices, we can look at a few things as well. So it is that simple, setting a phone up to this vehicle. Next up, jumping into our apps. So certain mobile apps will work through this middle screen. Specifically in the iPhone side of things, ones that I can think of would be Pandora and LiveX Live. So we can be connected through Bluetooth, and those would show up as our available apps there as well. Jumping into our settings, we've got a series of other options. So starting off, we've got our sound settings, so we can change out our treble, mid-range, bass. We've got our balance fade there as well, so we can adjust where it's actually sitting. We can recenter it as well. We've got our speed compensated volume, so it's automatically going to adjust the volume based off of how fast we're going. Occupancy mode, same idea. We've got our clock, which we can jump in by pressing the clock along the top there instead. But as you saw there, we can change between hours, minutes, and we've got our military mode as well. Bluetooth, so we can turn Bluetooth on or off. We can change the vehicle name, so if you wanted to customize it so that it's your own name instead of Ford Maverick, you could do that. We could add in devices or view connected devices as well. So as you see there, we still are connected through that Galaxy. We'll go back in just 1 second to a phone as well because it gives us the same options. So we do have a few things there. We can look at our Bluetooth devices again, hop in, and we can disconnect or we can completely remove it. Removing, 3, 2, 1, it is now disconnected and both phones are fully removed from the vehicle. Moving back again, we do have radio, so we do have a few different preset pages that are available there. I always recommend just maxing it out and going into 6 available presets, and the big reason why is because we go back home and now we've got up to 30 individual presets there. So if you're a heavy audio listener, you can at least have a mix of AM, FM, etc. Moving back, we've got some, again, mobile apps, which some of them will work over USB, so we can enable certain ones to work over USB. The vehicle itself is equipped with a Ford Pass Connect modem, which means that we can use it in order to be able to use it as a wireless hotspot. So if we had a data-only plan through our cell phone provider, we could use it to connect up to 10 devices. We could literally just set that one up through Bell Mobility in Canada as well. We've got some general settings, so we can change between English, Spanish, French. We've got our different temperature units. Touchscreen beep, so it's actually turned off, but if it was on, so the beeping that we're getting there, if that drives you nuts, you could turn it off. We can reset a few different ways as well. So we can reset Ford Pass Connect only, or we can do a full master reset there as well. So if we're selling the vehicle, we can just do a master reset to bring everything back to its factory default settings. Next up, we've got our 911 assist, which I always recommend keeping that one turned on so that it dials 911 if it recognizes you're in an accident. We've got our Wi-Fi, so we can easily connect to a Wi-Fi network at home. And we've got our system updates, so auto updates. Definitely recommend turning automatic updates on with our Wi-Fi at home. And the big reason why is because if the vehicle senses that there's an available update, it's automatically going to download it for us. Android Auto preferences, so as you see there, it's still showing that the Galaxy is connected. So we're just going to remove that one, and Android Auto is now gone. So that's one of the nice things, because by removing these things, it does clean up the tray. And then when we go to plug in through USB again, they will show up again. We've got some other vehicle settings. We've got a door keypad code that is available optionally inside of this. Certain trim levels will have it, but it's a 5-digit number in order to get inside of the vehicle if we don't have our fob on us. And we can easily add in multiple codes if we wanted to do that as well. We've got our display there. So our display is big, and as nice as this thing is, if it's too much, we can turn the whole thing off. Button press to bring it to life. We can jump into a calming screen where it just shows the time and our current statuses. Button press to bring it back again. Jumping back into our display, we've got our background, brightness, and then we've got a few different modes. So as of right now, so this is in the auto mode, but we can switch so that it's permanently in the day or the nighttime mode, depending on whether or not you like the look of one or the other. Auto mode means it's going to flip between day or night, depending on how bright it is outside. And then we've got our ambient lighting. So we do have only one available choice for the ambient light color, but we do have the flexibility of being able to adjust how bright it is if we want to. Pressing back, and that's going to be the basics of the actual media screen here, hopping back to the home page. We do have quite a few different features available here as well, but very similar, and it does remind me style-wise to the Escape. So we've got some basics for our audio controls there, tuning rocker, optional dual zone climate control in the Lariat, and then we do have our basic climate control settings there. push button start in some of the higher trim levels of the vehicle. And then we also do have a 12-volt power point, power sliding rear window, and then we've got a few USB ports there as well. So a USB and our USB-C. Now, the Lariat as a default won't have wireless charging unless we get into the Lariat Luxury package. When we've got that wireless charging pad along the middle there, we've got some storage areas, rotary dial with our park reverse neutral drive, and then our low gear. We've got an electronic parking brake in here, a few cup holders, and a few storage trays. And then moving down, a series of other buttons as well. So we've got the option of switching between different drive modes. So sport mode is probably where you're going to want to live the majority of the time. It just holds onto the gears a little bit longer and gives you a more aggressive performance. We can toggle our traction control on or off. We've got our auto start stop system and our auto hold setting there as well. So a lot of flexibility, but like I said, definitely reminds me of the Escape. We do have our armrest there with a little bit of storage space as well, which is a nice thing. Up overhead, we do have a little storage tray there as well. What else can I point out? We've got our turning sticks, which same thing, remind me of the Escape. We've got our lane keeping system, basics for our wiper control. Then we strictly have a front wiper. Not going to have a rear wiper in this thing whatsoever. Up overhead, we do have our manual dimming rear view mirror. A little bit more, we've got our basic for our cabin control lighting, and then this thing does have an optional sunroof. So when we get the roof, it is very Bronco Sport-esque. So it's not going to be a panoramic roof like we'd see inside of the F-150 or the Ford Escape, but it would be the same as the Bronco Sport. So we can easily open this thing up. We can vent it out as well if we wanted to. A few other things to point out, we've got a business card holder along the top, business card holder on the inside, and then this specific one has a vanity mirror with the lights as well. It's not going to be standard, available optionally in some of the packages in the vehicle, but we can slide this out, and that's going to be standard across the entire vehicle lineup. Now, one interesting thing, because we are in the Lariat version of the vehicle, Sync 3 actually doesn't come standard until we get into the Luxe package. But we still do have the option of going through some of our basics, like we've got our base audio control, radio settings, things like that. And then once we get into Sync 3, that's the enhanced voice assistant and things like that. Cluster screen, same idea, it's a 6.5-inch default in the Lariat. It's a 4.2 in the XL and the XLT, but styling-wise overall, it does look fairly nice.
Well, folks, that was a look at the all-new Maverick. What did you think? I kind of enjoy what Ford's done with this. I like the styling of it. It does really remind me of the new Bronco Sport with those handles along the side for the four doors and just some of the base styling on the inside there as well. It is kind of interesting to see what kind of accessories and things like that are going to be available, but this truck I do think is perfect for people that are a little bit more urban, or even if you're in the suburbs as well and you're looking for, more of a car type of a feel where you might need a bed every now and again. This is a good option, and having it available with the 2.5 hybrid, like we're getting reports of Ford reps getting 50 miles per gallon on this thing, which inside of the hybrid is absolutely mind-blowing. So I'm curious, once those finalized numbers are out, what it's going to look like. But do you think the Maverick would be for you, and is it something you would even entertain? I'm actually going to be doing another head-to-head comparison, but this time looking at the Maverick versus the Santa Cruz. That video is going to be dropping in a few weeks, and I'm going to be doing it slightly different than my regular head-to-head video, so stay tuned. But if you have any questions, ran into any problems, or you kind of want to know whether or not you should go for the XL, XLT, Lariat, etc., drop down in the comments section or reach out to me on social media. More than willing to talk you through the process, or I can put you in touch with a rep in your local area that can help you out as well. If you enjoyed the video, thumbs up and share it with your social networks. Think about subscribing, and until I see you next time, take care.